Hey there, welcome back to the channel. I'm coming to you from my home office here in Koh Samui, and I just wanted to make a video going through some of the common questions that I get asked from people that are looking to make a transition to living and working remotely from Thailand. So in this video, just going to be going through some of those common questions. Please subscribe to the channel for more updates from Thailand, and let's get started. So the number one question that I get asked from people that are looking to make a transition to living in Thailand is, what is the average cost of living, right? And there isn't really any one-size-fits-all answer to this question. It really entirely depends on how well you want to live in Thailand, right? So just for example, at my house that I rent here in Koh Samui, I spend roughly $350 per month. They recently raised the rent a little bit, but not significantly. And we've been able to extend that for over a year now. So obviously the prices are starting to go up now in terms of rentals on the island. And Koh Samui is actually one of the most expensive places, I would say, to live in Thailand. That being said, you can still do very, very well on $1,000 to $1,500 per month while living on a paradise island. And I've actually made a video about this with one of the largest vloggers in Thailand. He's retired working for you. We sat down for an interview about 2 months ago, and I just went through my day-to-day expenses over a month living in Koh Samui, and it worked out to be about $1,000 per month. Now, keep in mind, this is not relatively easy to do, and obviously that number goes up and down depending on how much I'm traveling, how much we're eating out, going out to restaurants, how much we're going out partying on the weekends, these sorts of things. But overall, I would say that's a pretty good estimate for how much that I spend per month living in Koh Samui. Now obviously you can do it for cheaper. Let's say you want to live in a place like Chiang Mai, where the cost of living is even lower than Koh Samui. That's one of the reasons that it's so popular for digital nomads and remote workers to set up Chiang Mai as a home base, just because food is very cheap, accommodation very cheap, gyms, co-working spaces, all that stuff. There's a lot to choose from in Chiang Mai. And I lived in Chiang Mai for about 4 to 5 months with my girlfriend in 2021 during COVID. And back then it was obviously very, very quiet. A lot of the businesses were shuttered, and it was quite depressing if I'm going to be honest. But now it's really seeing a surge again. There's a lot of tourists going to Chiang Mai. A lot of them are digital nomads that are working remotely from over there. So Chiang Mai is also a really good option where you can spend probably $700 to $1,000 per month. A good price range is anywhere from about $1,000 to $1,500, sometimes more. Let's say you want to spend $1,500 a month on a villa with a sea view, with a pool and a couple bedrooms here in Koh Samui. Obviously you can do that as well, and I have friends on the island that are doing that. But for me personally, it just doesn't really make sense. I don't need all of those fancy, flashy things. In my house here in Koh Samui, I've got beautiful views outside. As you can see behind me, I've got my laptop set up here on a neck stand, so nice comfortable chair to work from, and those sorts of things. So now, the second most common question that I get asked from people that are looking to make a transition over to Thailand is what sort of visa options are available. Now, this one I could go into detail extensively about. There's so many different options to choose from. I've already made videos about many of them on my YouTube channel. I'll leave a link to a few of those in the description below where you can check those out. But essentially it boils down to really 3 or 4 good options to choose from as far as visas are concerned. So obviously this is something that you have to take into consideration before you make your move over to Thailand. And it's something that I kind of struggled with for many years. I was actually on my tourist visa for about 2 years, just getting COVID extensions 60 days at a time, and it worked out to be about $1 per day to stay in Thailand. So for me personally, that was a total no-brainer. Rather than going back to the United States and just being miserable with my life, getting stuck back into the rat race, I just decided to stay here, and I have not been back to the US for over 3 years now. So That being said, there's quite a few different options to choose from. Number one, you've got the obviously the tourist visa, where you can come in 30 days. You can most likely get a 45-day extension, although I think they're starting to rule that out now. I recently heard from a friend. But yeah, I would recommend just coming in on a tourist visa. Depending on which passport you have, you can get anywhere from about 30 all the way up to, I think, 60 days visa-free or visa on arrival if you're entering Thailand. So that's the number one best option. And then second, you've got the education or the volunteer visa. I really like to group these two together because they're quite similar. And so that's a really good option as well if you're looking to start teaching English or learning Thai while you're over here, or volunteering for an organization, wherever you are, a nonprofit or something like that. That's also a really good option, and that will typically get you 1 year to stay in Thailand. Now, keep in mind with the education visa, they're sort of cracking down on how many people they allow to get the education visa, because it's one of the easiest visas to get, I would say. But you have to keep in mind that that's not going to last forever, and you can only do 2 border runs per year now, so land border crossings in Thailand. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Number 3, you've got the LTR or the SMART visa. I also group these together as well because they are both through the BOI, the Board of Investment in Thailand. So if you're looking to, let's say, launch a startup over here, invest in Thailand, these sorts of things, then the startup visa could be a really good option for you. That is valid for 6 months, and then you can extend it up to 2 or 3 years. So this is a visa that I was personally on for about 6 months because I was launching a startup over here. Then the SMART visa and also the LTR visa are a little bit tricky to get approved for. They set the bar relatively high, especially for the LTR, long-term resident visa. This one is good for 10 years. So it's definitely a long-term visa, and that's mostly for like retirees, wealthy expats, highly skilled professionals, remote work professionals as well. Let's say you're already working for a company remotely, then you can most likely get this visa, which is good for, like I say, 10 years. So this is a really, really good one for if you're looking to stay over here long term. So yeah, those are just a few of the different visa options that you can choose from. And as I mentioned earlier, I've already created video tutorials showing step-by-step how to actually apply for and increase your chances of getting approved for all of these different visas, mostly the SMART and the LTR visa. Then obviously there's also the retirement visa. That's for if you're over 54 years old. Obviously I do not qualify for that, seeing as I'm only 36. But that's good for, if you have a lot of savings in the bank, you're already retired, and you're looking for an easy way to basically stay in Thailand a year at a time, which you can just keep extending every year. Feel free to post a comment down below if you need help with any of these topics. So another really common question that I get asked from people that typically schedule consultation calls with me is, how do I actually find and land a remote job, right? This can be quite challenging, especially given the fact that the remote job market is quite competitive. Obviously, especially after the pandemic, where more and more people realized, they were working from home, and they started thinking about it. They're like, why am I working from home when I can essentially work from anywhere? All I really need is, a decent laptop, a fast Wi-Fi connection, and a few freelance clients or paying clients, right? And I've made videos about this also on my YouTube channel. I'll leave links in the description below where you can watch some of those. But essentially what it boils down to is, obviously you need to find a job that you're well qualified for. This is the first step. You don't just want to be applying for dozens and dozens of remote jobs that you're not qualified for, right? Because you're most likely not going to hear anything back from the employer, the hiring manager, or the recruiter. This is the first step. You actually have to be applying for jobs that you're qualified for. Second, you need to make sure that your resume is well optimized, because a lot of these companies use what's called an ATS system, applicant tracking system, which will essentially screen out qualified candidates. All it does is it goes through your resume, It reads the keywords. A lot of times the hiring manager doesn't even have to review the resume. If they do, they only take a few seconds to scan through it real quick, and then essentially just throw it in the trash if you're not qualified. So you have to make sure that you're beating that ATS system and your resume is well optimized. I've made videos about this before on my YouTube channel as well, just showing some of the various tools that you can use to make sure that your resume is optimized so that it gets past this applicant tracking system. So that's number 2. Number 3, you have to be going to the right sources, right? So number 1, I recommend checking out remote jobs on LinkedIn. There's a plethora of remote jobs available, hundreds of thousands of them to choose from. And then it's really just a matter of finding the jobs that you actually want to work for, right? So this is a really important question to ask yourself is, what sort of job am I passionate about that I can get paid well for, that the world needs? And this kind of goes into the Ikigai, which is a Japanese concept that just basically teaches you how to find what you're passionate about, what the world needs that you can get paid well for, and that you enjoy doing, right? So this is a really important question to kind of identify before just going through and applying for all the different remote jobs. You want to find one that really you're passionate about, right? So I've been very lucky to find a job over here in Thailand that is mostly commission-based for now, but it's something that I'm quite passionate about, that I enjoy doing. It's mostly marketing and lead generation for now, but it's eventually going to turn into photography, which is something that I've been doing for many, many years now, 8-9 years, where I can essentially travel around the world doing photography, meeting with clients. So those are just a few of the things that you need to identify before applying for remote jobs. Make sure that you're actually applying for the jobs that you want to do, that pay relatively well, that you can do remotely from anywhere, ideally. A lot of the remote companies are hiring remotely, but they also say, okay, but you also have to be doing this from the United States, for example, or from the European Union, or from Thailand, for example. And that really kind of defeats the purpose of working remotely, right? Ideally, it's something that you can do from anywhere. With that being said, feel free to schedule a consultation call on my calendar down below. It's $150 for an hour-long consultation call where we'll basically just walk through step by step to help you put the systems in place to work remotely from Thailand or wherever it is that you want to work from, right? What sort of co-working spaces / co-living spaces options are there to choose from? And this one really entirely depends on where you choose to call your home base in Thailand. So if you're based in Chiang Mai, for example, obviously you're going to have a lot of different co-working space options to choose from. Specifically, if you're living in the Niman area, which is kind of like the hipster central area of Chiang Mai. This is where a lot of coffee shops are, restaurants, cool bars, and also co-working spaces. So there's one that I was using there called Draper Startup House for a couple months while I was living in Chiang Mai. And I think that one unfortunately has closed down last year. I don't know if it's reopened again. I won't go into too much detail about this, but there's essentially Draper startup houses all over the world. Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand, parts of South America, obviously the United States. I believe that their home base is in Austin, Texas, where I lived for many years, which is kind of cool. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can find some of those co-working spaces. And then if you're in Bangkok, they actually have WeWork, which is very, very large co-working space that they have locations all over the world, including, pretty much anywhere that you're looking for. They'll most likely have a WeWork there, especially if it's in a large city like Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, obviously Bangkok in Thailand. I have not been to the WeWork location there, but I hear from friends that it's very, very nice. But if you're looking for a good co-working space in a place like Koh Samui, unfortunately, there's really not too many options to choose from. And this is something that I've actually been wanting to launch myself for a long time now. I would say, 2 years roughly. Unfortunately, I just haven't really had the capital or the investment to make it happen yet. But I would expect over the next year or so, I should be able to rent a place here and turn it into a co-working space. I've already got a few different places picked out already in Koh Samui, and I'm actually looking for investors, somebody to come on board as a partner to help me to launch a co-working space over here, because as I mentioned, there's really not too many good options to choose from. And I want to build a community around it as well, because this is something that is sorely missing from a lot of the co-working spaces in Samui. They don't really have a community. They don't have regular networking events, these sorts of things that will really get people interested in signing up for a membership at the co-working space, right? And for me personally, I mostly work from my home studio here in Koh Samui. You can see behind me, I've got my laptop set up on my neck stand. I've got a comfortable chair here that has a massage function built into it, so I can just be sitting, working on my laptop, getting a massage, and enjoying the beautiful palm tree views. It's mostly beautiful sunny weather here in Koh Samui year-round. So I don't really see the reason to be going into co-working spaces all the time, paying the membership fees, just to sit with other people on their laptop. So I mostly work from my home studio here in Koh Samui, and for the most part that works out pretty well. Obviously, occasionally I'll go to a coffee shop. There's one place here in Lamai that I like. It's called The Hub. So they've got really fast Wi-Fi, good coffee, healthy food to eat over there. I might go over there a little bit later, actually, to get some laptop work done. There's another really good coffee shop called Cafe KOB, which I sometimes work from. They've got 4 locations around the island. So yeah, lots of options to choose from, and I wouldn't let the co-working spaces determine where you want to live. You can pretty much set up your home base anywhere that you want. All you need is a decent laptop, good Wi-Fi connection, and beautiful views. Just to wrap things up, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Work Paradise, which is a side project for the company that I'm working for in Thailand. Essentially what it is an EOR, Employer of Record company, that will allow you to work remotely for your company, let's say in your home country in the European Union, for example, remotely from Thailand. So they basically are a middleman between the employer and the employee. They take care of all the payroll and taxes, and they also get you set up with your work permit, so you're legally working remotely from Thailand for your company back home. Again, they're not an official sponsor for this video, but I'm sending more and more clients their way and getting paid sales commissions for everybody that is successfully onboarded onto the Work Paradise platform. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on bell notifications to be notified of future upcoming videos. And with that being said, take care, stay safe, peace from Thailand.